Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of business ethics. Week 2 is going to talk about our second chapter in the textbook, which is ethics from antiquity to the present. In this chapter, we look at some ethical concepts all the way from ancient Athens to modern day East and Western parts of the world. And we also are introduced to 3 major ethical theories or frameworks by which to make decisions with the justification that these are ethically sound decisions based on which philosophers' ideals you might follow. So the ones that are presented here are utilitarianism, deontology, and justice. Well, in these theories, they each have maybe various subdivisions within them. Something like care ethics might fall under deontology, a duty to care for others who need to be cared for. That applies in medical ethics a lot, or other various interpretations of these theories. But as you start looking at your case studies, I want you to evaluate them through one of these lenses. As to which one to apply, well, that'll be up to you how you're going to present your findings, your not necessarily solution, but what you think should happen, what's right or wrong here, and why. You're typically going to use one of these 3 frameworks, and feel free to use other sources you find on the internet as an ethical framework to back up your thoughts. But I really want to make sure that and the point of this video is to make sure that you really pay attention to these 3 ethical frameworks. While everything in this chapter might be on your quiz or on your your exam at the end of the semester, I really want you to come away with understanding these ideas and ways of thinking about the world through an ethical framework. So utilitarianism, greatest good would be a quick way to sum that up. If you look in the chapter here, let's see, where was it? Down a little bit. Well, I can't find it exactly on the page, but the idea of what is ethically right or wrong has to do with what creates the most amount of happiness for the most amount of people. So let's see here. There we go. Yeah, the idea of turning happiness of humans into a math problem. In this system, one person is known as one util, that's the unit of measurement. And so if you're making a decision such as, what to do as far as, like it could be as extreme as, would you kill one person to save 1,000 people, right? Clear cut, yes, 1,000 people live, one person dies. Under utilitarianism, that's going to create the most good. When it comes to the rationing of food or water, right? Or any other thing that comes down to a decision where some people are going to, by result of the decision, suffer in some way. Utilitarianism is what might guide you to making that decision in a pretty cold and uncaring way. That's the criticism of it, right? You don't put a lot of thought into that person other than a unit of measurement. So this idea of utilitarianism might, it might be sound, it might not. A lot of people, other philosophers would disagree with this idea. But regardless, it does drive a lot of decisions that are made in terms of political decisions, or military, or rationing, or anything else in which the outcome is not going to be entirely positive for everyone involved. In ethics, there's this idea of, do you look at the results of your decision to determine if something was ethical, or do you look at the intention? Consequentialism is looking at the results or the consequences of your actions to determine if what you did was right or wrong. While in other ways, such as virtue, you're looking at, did you do what is right from a virtuous nature or human nature of what we should be doing and striving to do, and not necessarily judged on the success rate. So again, read through this chapter. That's just a brief discussion of it. Deontology comes from Immanuel Kant or Kant. I've always been, no matter which way I pronounce it, I'll be corrected one way or the other. But the idea here is that do we have a responsibility to act for the good of others? Are we deontology? I don't know if it's Latin, but the root word there means a duty to act for others in some manner. We are compelled to do that in a way that helps with the goodwill of others. We're not making decisions that are purely in our own interest. There are some specific differences listed here on your book, about halfway down. Outline the differences between utilitarianism and deontology. You will when it comes to the world of business and deontology, often you'll be judged if your actions were universally applicable to everyone involved. Example here is that if a corporate makes a decision that benefits maybe the public at the same time that it benefits the company leadership and stockholders, and not just the stockholders and leaders, then you might say that is an ethical decision, right? You're looking out for everyone involved. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be specifically minded directly to others, but it shouldn't put yourself above others in that manner. And then we have the theory of justice. In a justice theory, we have what is looking at the at fairness, what is known as a social contract theory, ideas that yes, we all have these personal freedoms, that's our natural state to be free, but we have a responsibility to others to live within certain within certain decisions that we make that impact other people, to not just always act in a way that is what we deem to be freedom, that sometimes it's right to put certain restrictions on ourselves. Don't talk in a movie theater because it is upsetting to other people. Yes, you're free to talk in a movie theater. No, it's not against the law. No, it's not against the law to cut in front of somebody in line. But social contract theory would say that we have that responsibility to put some restrictions on our freedom, to not just cut in front of other people or talk, or if somebody's about to pull in a parking space, you zoom in front of them, right? These are things that would all around be deemed rather rude to other people. None of those are against a law of any kind, but are they right? Are they the right thing to do? Also within this theory comes the term the veil of ignorance. The veil of ignorance would say that if you're looking at a decision, you should not think about the person who's impacted by that decision in terms of having any identity. You should make decisions acting as if you did not know who was going to be affected by them, meaning it could affect you just as equally as it could affect someone else. There we have it. Again, the briefest of overviews on these three things. This is not a full dissection or reading of the chapter material. You'll need to do that like you will need to do each week. But I really want to make sure that you come away with a really good understanding or reading of these three ethical frameworks, because they really are going to guide as you make your decisions. So let's talk real quick about the discussion assignment for this week and going forward. So as I've said on the announcements and in my bio. I coach our ethics bowl team here at NSU. The ethics bowl is a intercollegiate competition. It's persuasive speech. It's similar to debate, but unlike debate, you're not told, you're for or against. I know there's a technical term there that I'm forgetting. You're pushing in favor of one side or the other. That person doesn't have to defend the opposite side. And instead, you come to the conclusion of what's right or wrong on your own as a team. You collaborate with your teammates to come to what the team's position is on any of these case studies. And then you present your decision, you present all of your reasoning behind that, all the extra research you've done, and then answer questions that the other team might have to maybe poke holes in your argument, or maybe they have a differing point of view, or maybe they have the same point of view, but for different reasons. And then the judges ask you questions, and you got to be able to answer the questions they're really going to grill you on why you came to some decision versus the other. So these case studies from here on out are all going to come from past ethics bowl competitions. Usually the case packet has anywhere up to maybe 18 different cases. So I've kind of pulled ones that have, maybe are still topical in some way, or I've taken out some of the ones that don't have any kind of business sense in mind. This first one we're going to talk about was case number 8 from last year, and it talks about reform of retirement age. As most as the what's known as the baby boomer generation is coming to retire, there will be less people in the workforce paying into Social Security. And so there's, the idea is that there's likely to be a deficit. And so some lawmakers have proposed a solution for that to just raise the retirement age. And then you look at, well, why could we raise the retirement age? Well, we've got, AI to help us and robotics to help us, so people aren't putting as much strain on their body. This is all in your case study. And so they should be able to work longer because they're not out, plowing the fields like everyone else back in ye olden times, and putting all this wear on their body. So they should be able to work longer. And some people would say, well, I've paid into it with this promise of getting to retire and having this idea in mind of of my golden years of retirement, and I want that to be there when I get to that age. And so this case study really deals with what's going on in China and France, where in China the age of retirement currently is 50. I really want you to figure out, and I'm hoping that some of you look into some legislation in China that might have caused a deficit in the amount of working people for a generation or two there, and why there might be a deficit in China. France, their retirement age is a little lower. They had a major amount of not rioting per se, but a lot of protesting when they tried to raise the retirement age to let's see here. Where are we at? 64, and I think they were trying to raise it by. I see. Does it say here? Well, make sure you do find out what that age was. I know it wasn't a large amount, and it's still less than what's in the U.S. So it doesn't talk a lot about the U.S. retirement age, but I'd like you to. I'd like you to talk about the current age of retirement to start withdrawing full benefits from Social Security, what is currently in the works, when it went into place. There is a tiered system that was approved at the time that it was approved. We're currently in one tier, but it's already going to go up again soon to a higher age. So I'd like you to find that out. Again, it's not in the case study. There's not a lot of US stuff in the case study, but I'd like you to make it more personal and make it about what's going on in the United States, as well as talk to, the two countries listed here, China and France. So just think that through. And as you're doing that, I've provided you a template. When you first go here, make sure you just click on File and Copy, and then copy this to your own Google Drive, because you're not going to be able to edit this document. I've just got sharing privileges, but once you copy it to your own drive, you'll be able to make whatever edits you want to it. You don't have to use this, but at least for this first one, it might help you to gather your thoughts in a logical presentation step. Presenting this from the idea of what are the facts of the piece. Well, I kind of went through some of them about these countries raising the retirement age, what it is in the United States, what it is in China, etc. Stakeholders. You're going to see this term a lot. I said it earlier in the video without explaining, but stakeholders are anyone who's involved in or affected in any way by whatever actions are discussed. So if I said, who are the stakeholders of a company paying less in city taxes, well, it's not just the shareholders, right? Stakeholders and shareholders, they sound similar, but shareholders are people who own a piece of that company through shares that are publicly sold and traded. Stakeholders are they could be the public, they could be the people that work in the company, the people who shop there, the board members. It can also be the shareholders as well, but it's not just the shareholders. So who's involved in it? To whom does it matter the most, or in any way? What ethical questions, what ethical issues should be brought up? What's ethically right, what's ethically wrong, or what is it trying to get us to come to a decision on, right? So here's an example one of a decision that's led through these slides. An example of whether students should have homework or not, right? And here's all the students that might be involved in that. What major ethical decisions are? Well, how do we think about their time? What gives them the right to mandate homework for students, et cetera, right? So these are ethical issues. And then what's your position? What do you think about it? I really want to know more than anything else. And the reason I have these weekly discussions and not just one or two of them is I'm really interested to know what you think about it. I want to know your thoughts when you read this. What was your initial reaction? What did you learn along the way as you went into this a little bit deeper? So, it's probably going to be stated as I think this, and then here's my reasons why. Evidence for your position, any ethical issues, whatever evidence you have behind that. Well, actually, it should be this, and here's what we found, and this is really provides a really good background understanding of it, and this is why I think this is a great solution. It's what's right, or maybe it just is the best for the most amount of people, or whatever the case is. So. As always, any questions at all, email me anytime. I won't necessarily respond anytime, but I will get back to you as soon as I can. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you in week 3.